From legendary shots that will live on forever, to absolute heartbreak as dreams slipped away, these are the 20 most unbelievable golf moments ever recorded. It's 2009, and Australian golfer Robert Allenby is about to learn a hard lesson about mixing alcohol with high-stakes golf. Well, it was a lesson for all. It's the night before Allenby's final singles match at the President's Cup in San Francisco. Instead of getting a good night's sleep, our Aussie friend decides to hit the town. A quiet dinner and an early bedtime? Allenby allegedly goes on a full-blown bender. The next day, hungover and probably regretting his life choices, Allenby stumbles onto the course. And surprise, he loses his match. But instead of owning up to his mistake, Allenby decides to point fingers. He accuses his American opponent, Anthony Kim, of being the real party animal, claiming Kim had been out all night too. The audacity of this guy. Needless to say, Kim and the American team weren't too thrilled with these accusations. The whole incident left a sour taste in everyone's mouth and painted Allenby as a sore loser with a penchant for stirring up troubles. Fast forward to 2011, and Allenby's at it again. After a dismal performance where he fails to win a single point for the international team, does he take responsibility? No. He blames his teammates for his poor showing. This sparked a heated exchange with fellow Aussie Geoff Ogilvy, nearly resulting in a fistfight. Who knew golf could be so pugilistic? Next up, number 19. So here we are, watching Rory McIlroy tee off. It is an absolutely scorching day in the desert, and Rory McIlroy found himself in a real mess. His ball was wedged right up against a rock, one of those impossible lies where you can't move the obstacle without the ball rolling. Rory stood there deep in thought, eyeing the situation. He couldn't afford to drop a shot, and moving the rock was out of the question. And then in a bold move, Rory decided he would hit both the ball and the rock together. He lines up his shot, the crowd is dead silent, and everyone's wondering what's about to go down. With a mighty swing, the club connected with the rock and ball, sending both flying in different directions. The ball rockets into the crowd like a heat-seeking missile. Before anyone knows what's happening, it strikes a guy dead on, knocking him off his feet. He stumbled backward, and in the worst luck imaginable, he crashed straight into a towering cactus. But not just any cactus, these were the infamous jumping cholas, the ones that latch onto anything they touch, making it look like they leap at you. The poor guy's covered in big, horrifying chunks of cactus, stuck all over him. And the crowd can't believe what they're seeing. Rory rushes over, mortified, apologizing profusely, but the damage is done. The man is practically wrapped in spines, and people scramble to help pull the jumping cholas off him. Coming in at number 18. And what do we have here? A controversy with the best sports drama. This is the Patrick Reed saga. So if you know anything about Patrick Reed, you know he's no stranger to controversy. But what went down in Australia in 2019? That was on a whole new level. Just days before the President's Cup kicks off at Royal Melbourne, Reed is caught on camera improving his lie in a bunker at the Hero World Challenge. It was blatant sand moving. Reed claims it was an accident, but the golf world isn't buying it. He's hit with a 2-stroke penalty, but more importantly, he's branded a cheater. Fast forward to Melbourne. Reed steps onto the first tee, and the Aussie crowd? They're out for blood. We're talking boos, jeers, and some truly creative heckling. Mr. Sandman becomes Reed's unwanted nickname for the week. Every shot, every hole, the crowd is on him. But Reed? He's not backing down. He's embracing the villain role, even mimicking a shoveling motion after sinking a putt. But this is not all. The controversy took a more serious turn on the final day of the President's Cup when Reed's caddy, Kessler Corain, who also happens to be his brother-in-law, got into a physical altercation with a fan. According to reports, Corain confronted a fan who had been heckling Reed during the competition. Corain later claimed that the fan had crossed a line by repeatedly yelling obscenities at Reed, and he reacted by shoving the fan. Can you believe it? The altercation led to Corain being removed from caddy duties for the final day of singles matches. Reed played his singles match without his regular caddy and ended up losing 4-2 to CT Pan of the international team. The incident involving Corain overshadowed Reed's performance and added another layer of controversy to his already tumultuous President's Cup experience. Despite all this, or perhaps because of it, Reed manages to secure crucial points for the U.S. team. And, you guessed, the U.S. team took the crown, just again. Up next, number 17. The very next day, on the 7th hole, we get to see another craziness. This time, it's Annika Sorenstam in the hot seat. This time, she's an assistant captain. but somehow she manages to stir things up a bit. Here's what went down. A European caddy tells Paula that her par putt is good. No problem, right? Except the caddy says he's acting on Sorenstam's words. And that is a big no. Only captains are allowed to give advice per the captain's agreement. Creamer understandably gets upset. She starts arguing with her opponents, with the officials, probably with the grass if it would listen. And after another eternity of discussion, the USGA finally rules that Sorenstam didn't breach any rules. Crisis averted, right? Wrong. Because later that evening we get yet another 30-minute ruling on the 16th hole. At this point, the Golf Channel starts showing close-ups of the moon. I kid you not, that was the 2013 Solheim Cup, where the rulings took longer than the actual golf. But get ready, because we're about to dive into what might be the most heated, controversial moment in Solheim Cup history. A moment so shocking and divisive, it makes all these other incidents look like a polite disagreement over the proper way to mark a ball. Which brings us to number 16, Bubba Watson's 2012 Masters playoff moment. Oh, that's the stuff legends are made of. Picture this, Bubba's on the 10th hole at Augusta National sudden death playoff, and his tee shot goes wild, straight into the trees. For most golfers, even the greats, this is the point where you're throwing in the towel. But Bubba? No way, he was just getting started. He's standing 164 yards out, surrounded by dogwoods and pine trees with barely a sliver of the green in sight. The ball's sitting up on pine straw, and what does Bubba do? He taps into that magic only he's got. Instead of playing it safe, like everyone's expecting, he starts visualizing this insane hook shot that would make any golfer's jaw drop. Even Nick Faldo, calling it from the booth, is pretty much saying, yeah, no chance. But Bubba had a plan. With his 52-degree ping wedge in hand, he sets up almost perpendicular to the green. Yeah, perpendicular. He closes his stance and lets it rip. The ball shoots off the pine straw and starts curving so hard, it looks like it's bending the rules of golf itself. Time feels like it's standing still as it snakes through the trees, and then, bam, it lands just 15 feet from the pin. It was one of those shots that you've got to see to believe. A simple two-putt later, Bubba's wearing his first green jacket, leaving everyone completely speechless. That moment didn't just win him the Masters. It cemented him as one of golf's unorthodox geniuses. Here at number 15, we have another ridiculous golf moment. It's Billy Horschel at the 2015 US Open at Chambers Bay, who decides the greens aren't just bad. They're the worst rolling greens ever. And he doesn't just say this quietly to his caddy. Oh no, he goes full Gordon Ramsay on the USGA. Back then, Horschel's just finished his round, and instead of the usual "thanks for having me" speech, he absolutely unloads. He's not just mad about the greens, he's mad about everything. And I mean everything. The course setup, the design, even the fan experience. Billy practically unleashed a one-star Yelp review on live TV. I lost respect for the USGA this week, he declared, taking direct shots at the governing body of American golf. And then came the blow-by-blow on specific holes. Number 4, god-awful. Number 10, he described it as literally dirt. Not sand, not grass, just plain dirt. This man is out here giving a geological survey of every terrible element the course had to offer. At one point, he taps a putt that takes like 10 seconds to get to the hole and then rolls 4 feet past. I mean, maybe he's got a point. Here we are at number 14, where we learn that even the best players can have trouble with basic math. The year is 2001, and Ian Woosnam, who'd won his only major a decade earlier, is in contention at the Open Championship. He starts his final round absolutely on fire. First hole? Nearly makes a hole-in-one and taps in for birdie. He's now tied for the lead and looking like he might add another major to his resume. But then, it happens. As he walks to the second tee, his caddy, Miles Byrne, suddenly goes pale. He's just realized something that's about to turn their dream start into a nightmare. Ian, he says, we've got a problem. We've got 15 clubs in the bag. Now, for those who don't know, the rules of golf clearly state you can only have 14 clubs. He was so furious, he grabbed the extra wood and threw it across the tee in disgust. But the penalty? 2 strokes per hole, with a maximum of 4 strokes. Since they discovered it after playing 1 hole, that meant 2 penalty strokes. Just like that, Woosy's beautiful birdie turns into a devastating bogey. And the more painful part? He finished tied for 3rd place, just 4 strokes behind the winner David Duval. Sure, the penalty didn't overtake David's final result, but it makes you think, what if that momentum hadn't been broken by the club fiasco? I guess we'll never know. Now we're at number 13. This rivalry is proof that words can come back to bite hard. Back in 2000, Stephen Ames, never one to hold his tongue, had some seriously bold opinions about Tiger Woods. He didn't just throw shade, he went for the jugular, calling Tiger spoiled, claiming he didn't respect other players, and suggesting that Tiger's ego was bigger than the game itself. Ames believed that with all his money and fame, Tiger should be a little more considerate. Big talk, especially about a guy who was transforming the sport and becoming a legend. Fast forward to 2006 at the World Match Play Championship, and Tiger finally had his chance to respond. But he didn't need words, he let his clubs do the talking. Paired with Ames in a head-to-head showdown, Tiger delivered one of the most brutal beatdowns in golf history, obliterating Ames 9-8. To put that into perspective, Tiger finished Ames off with nearly half the match left to play, a rare and humiliating display of dominance. It was a message served cold, and you can bet Tiger savored every moment of it. So, moral of the story? If you're going to trash talk Tiger Woods, be prepared to eat your words, along with a slice of humble pie the size of a golf course. Next up, number 12. Let's set the scene. It's 2015, we're in Germany. Suzanne Pettersen is about to ignite a firestorm that'll be talked about for years to come. Now, they're playing the four balls. Pettersen and Charley Hull are playing against Allison Lee and Brittany Lincecum. They're on the 17th green. The match is all square. The tension is thick. Lee misses a putt for birdie. It was no big deal. She'll just tap in for par. Except she doesn't. Because she thinks the putt has been conceded. She picks up her ball, ready to head to the 18th tee. But wait. Pettersen pipes up saying they hadn't conceded the putt. Cue the gasps, the wide eyes, and the sudden realization that things are about to get real messy. The result? Europe wins the hole. Lee and Hull are in tears. The American team is furious, and golf fans around the world are picking their jaws up off the floor. And is here where it gets even juicier? This controversy lit a fire under the American team. They went into the final day trailing by 4 points, but fueled by a sense of injustice and a burning desire for revenge, Team USA pulled off the greatest comeback in Solheim Cup history. They stormed back on Sunday, winning 8.5 points in the singles matches. And who do we have here at number 11? Phil Mickelson is one of the most celebrated names in golf, but he did something truly shocking during the 2018 US Open at Shinnecock Hills. Picture this. It's the 13th hole, third round, and Phil's overhit first putt sends his ball flying way past the hole. But instead of letting it go and dealing with the consequences, Phil does something nobody saw coming. He jogs over and, wait for it, hits the ball while it's still moving. Not only is that totally unconventional, it's actually illegal. But for Mickelson, it was a tactical decision. He knew that allowing the ball to roll further would make the situation worse, so he stopped it in its tracks. The commentators couldn't believe it. One of them even shouted, "Wow, that's stunning." And honestly, everyone watching at home was probably thinking, did that just happen? Now, here's where it gets wild. Most people were expecting Mickelson to get disqualified on the spot. But no, the USGA hit him with a 2-stroke penalty instead, saying that since he didn't deliberately deflect the ball, he avoided a harsher punishment. Phil, in classic Mickelson style, just kept walking with a smile and even threw a few thumbs up to the crowd, as if to say, yep, I did that. Not one of his finest moments, to say the least. We're halfway through our list at number 10. It was the 2012 Masters, and Tiger Woods was caught in a rules drama that had the golf world buzzing. So, what happened? It's the par 5 15th hole, and Tiger's approach shot looks perfect. But then, bam! It hits the flagstick and bounces straight into the water. Already frustrated, Woods decides to replay the shot. He takes a drop near his original spot, thinking he's safe, but unknowingly drops the ball about 2 yards further back. And that's where the real trouble starts. See, according to Rule 26.1, when replaying from a water hazard, the drop has to be as nearly as possible to the original spot. No wiggle room. But the twist, a TV viewer watching from home noticed the drop and called tournament officials. The Masters Committee initially reviewed the footage and gave Woods the all clear. But then Tiger, in his post-round interview, casually mentions that he dropped it a bit further back on purpose, triggering another review. The final verdict? A 2-stroke penalty that turned his bogey into a triple bogey. Normally, signing an incorrect scorecard would mean disqualification, but a recent rule change let the committee add the penalty strokes instead. Tiger took it in stride, but the whole incident sparked a huge debate about fairness, especially with a TV viewer playing referee. Safe to say, that viewer probably wasn't in Tiger's fan club. Coming in at number 9. Now, we've all had bad days on the green, but Danny Lee, he took it to a whole new level. Here's the situation. He's on the 18th hole at Winged Foot, already one of the toughest courses in existence, and he's got a 4-foot putt. Easy. Until it's not. He missed the first putt. Okay, no big deal. Misses the second. Starting to get concerning. Third putt? Nope. Fourth? Still no. Fifth? Come on, Danny. By the 6th putt, it's like watching a horror movie where the victim keeps running up the stairs instead of out the front door. But here's where it gets really wild. After finally getting the ball in the hole, and remember, this started from 4 feet away, Lee turns into the Incredible Hulk. He grabs his putter, and I swear this thing must have personally insulted his entire family, because he starts slamming it into his bag like he's trying to drive it through to China. Storms off the green and then, get this, withdraws from the tournament citing a wrist injury. Yeah, I wonder how that wrist got injured. Maybe from trying to murder your putter? Get ready for number 8. It was Saturday afternoon at the Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio. The match between Nelly Korda and Ali Ewing of Team USA and Europe's Nana Kirsts Madsen and Madeline Sagstrom is coming down to the wire. They're on the par 5 13th hole, and Korda's got a long eagle putt. Now, here's where things get interesting. Korda's putt doesn't quite make it to the hole. It stops right on the edge, hanging there like it's teasing everyone. You know those moments where time seems to stand still? This was one of those. Sagstrom, probably thinking she was doing everyone a favor, walks over and picks up the ball, tossing it back to Korda. Big mistake. Why? There are rules. If any part of the ball is overhanging the lip of the hole, you get a reasonable amount of time to get to the hole, plus an additional 10 seconds to see if the ball falls in. Well, Sagstrom didn't give the ball that chance, and that's when all hell broke loose. The rules official steps in and says, by picking it up early, you've essentially conceded an eagle to Korda. Cue the collective gasp from everyone watching. Sagstrom was devastated. She argued that the ball wasn't going to drop, that it was clearly at rest, but the officials stood firm. Korda and Ewing were given the eagle, putting them ahead by 1 shot, and they never lost that lead. Next up, number 7. We're going all the way back to 2003 for this one, to what might be the most devastating bunker disaster in golf history. Thomas Bjorn at the Open. It's the final round at Royal St. George's, and Bjorn is in prime position to claim his first major title. He's leading by 2 shots with just 3 holes left to play. The claret jug is practically in his hands, until dark clouds came his way. Bjorn's tee shot on the par 3 16th lands in a greenside bunker. No big deal, right? A routine bunker shot for someone of Bjorn's caliber. He's done this thousands of times. But then, his first attempt rolls right back to his feet. The wind blows sand in his eyes, making things even worse. He steps up for a second try, but this time the ball plugs in his own footprints, sinking deeper into the sand. Everyone watching is in complete shock. How could this be happening? By the time he finally gets out of the bunker, the damage is done. His 2-shot lead has vanished, and with it, his chances of winning the Open. He never recovers, and Ben Curtis, an unheralded American, swoops in to claim the title. Sliding into number 6. Here's the situation. It's the par 4 10th hole, and Reed's approach shot lands deep in the thick rough. He claims the ball is embedded and picks it up for a free drop under Rule 16.3, which allows relief for embedded balls in the general area. Simple enough, right? Well, not exactly. What really got people talking wasn't the relief itself, but how Reed handled it. Without waiting for an official, he picked up the ball before anyone could inspect it. A rare move in a game where rules are often self-enforced. Adding to the drama, a volunteer had mentioned that the ball hadn't bounced, so Reed went ahead. But here's the twist. Video footage later showed the ball actually had bounced, making it pretty unlikely that it would have embedded. And that raised the big question. Should Reed have waited for an official before lifting his ball? In a sport where honesty is everything, Reed's quick decision threw him into a gray area that a lot of fans and players found suspicious. Now, technically, Reed didn't break any rules, but the debate lies in whether his call was totally fair. He ended up finishing the hole with a par, but by then, his actions had already fueled another round of controversy around his reputation. You've made it to our top 5. So, picture this. Bubba's neck deep in pressure, everything's on the line, and then shanks a shot completely off the target. Now, instead of quietly taking it in stride, Bubba locks onto a target of his own, his caddy, Ted Scott. That's right, in a bizarre twist, Bubba unloads on Ted as if the guy secretly swapped his clubs for a twisted set. The microphones picked up every word, and fans watching at home got front row seats to Bubba's finger pointing as he threw Ted under the bus. Bubba snapping with lines like, "That's the wrong club," and "Water off the tee, Ted." In his mind, it wasn't just a bad shot, it was a betrayal. But it gets worse. After the round, Ted actually took the blame and laughed it off with Bubba like it was no big deal. But here's the kicker. If your caddy has to keep apologizing for your ball going rogue, maybe it's not the caddy who's got the problem. Up next, number 4. When it comes to unforgettable moments in golf, Tiger Woods' insane chip-in on the 16th hole at the 2005 Masters is in a league of its own. By that point, Tiger was already a living legend. But this shot? It was something only Tiger could pull off. He was locked in a tight battle with Chris DeMarco during the final round, holding on to a slim one-stroke lead. But then, after his tee shot flew past the green, things were looking shaky. Now, here's where it gets wild. Tiger's ball was stuck in the rough with thick grass all around and a tricky, sloping green ahead. A shot most would struggle with. Even CBS commentator Lanny Wadkins couldn't believe the challenge, saying that if Tiger got the ball within 15 feet, it would be a huge win. Then, Tiger steps up to the ball, lines it up like he's done a million times before, and with that signature smooth swing, he lets it fly. The ball pops off the club face, sailing through the air, and then it hits the green. But not just anywhere, it lands in exactly the right spot, high up on the slope. And that's where the magic begins. The ball starts rolling slowly towards the hole. It keeps rolling, and you can feel the energy building as it gets closer. And then, bam! It reaches the cup. And what does it do? It stops. Stops, right on the edge. The whole world gasps. It's like time freezes. Seconds feel like minutes. And just when it seems like it might stay there forever, gravity finally kicks in. Bam! It drops. The crowd explodes. People are losing their minds. Tiger just pulled off what seemed impossible. And the way that ball paused on the lip, it was like golf's version of a dramatic mic drop. Coming in at number 3. It was the second round of the 2021 Scottish Open, and everything seemed set for a day of top-tier golf at the Renaissance Club in North Berwick. As Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, and Justin Thomas were preparing to tee off on the 10th hole, no one could have predicted the bizarre scene that was about to unfold right in front of them. Here's what happened. As McIlroy set his focus on the shot, a fan emerged from the crowd and quietly approached McIlroy's golf bag. No one was quite sure what this guy was up to, but he moved with a purpose, as if he was just another member of the group. He reached straight for McIlroy's driver, seemingly trying to lift it out of the bag in one smooth motion, but it was stuck. After a few awkward tugs, he managed to only pull off the head cover. Undeterred, he paused, looked around, and then coolly switched tactics, grabbing an iron instead. At this point, McIlroy, Rahm, and Thomas noticed what was going on, their expressions shifting from mild confusion to a mix of shock, amusement, and utter disbelief. Realizing he'd been caught, the fan played it off like he wasn't trying to swipe the club at all. Instead, he held the iron up, gripped it like he was about to play his own round, and even started doing a few practice swings, trying to act as if he was just one of the guys. The whole tee box watched, stunned, as this bold intruder casually pretended to be part of the game. Security quickly stepped in, taking the man by the arm and leading him away from the tee, while the crowd murmured in disbelief. At number 2 of the list, we have Charley Hull. It was a Thursday afternoon at the Solheim Cup, and Charley Hull was turning heads, not just with her impressive play, but also with her confident presence on the course. She was in the middle of her practice round, just going through her routine. But then, something totally unexpected happened. Instead of heading straight to the next hole like everyone thought she would, Charley suddenly changed direction, catching everyone. She was walking toward a cluster of spectators. At first, it seemed like she might be signing autographs mid-round, a rare but exciting move. But as she approached, Charley pulled a fan aside, leaned in, and casually asked, "Do you have a lighter?" The fan, caught off guard but willing to oblige, fumbled in his pocket, found a lighter, and fired up her cigarette right there on the course. Charley took a drag, unfazed, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. It's moments like these that make Hull so intriguing. She plays by her own rules, and if that includes a smoke break, so be it. And finally, number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the undisputed king of golf rage, Sergio Garcia. This is a whole career of absolutely legendary meltdowns. Let's start with the most infamous, the 2019 Saudi International. So, Sergio's in a bunker, and instead of trying to get out of it like a normal person, he decides to renovate it. He's taking these wild, angry swipes at the sand like he's trying to dig to the other side of the planet. But that's not enough for our friend Sergio. No. He then proceeds to damage 5 different greens during his round. The officials said it looked like deer or camel tracks. When your tantrum gets compared to wildlife damage, you might want to reconsider your approach to anger management. But wait, we're just getting started. Let's go back to 2007 at Doral, where Sergio decided to, how do I put this delicately, deposit some DNA in the cup after missing a putt. That's right, he spat in the hole. Not near it, not around it, in it. The same hole other players had to use. That's like, well, there's actually nothing to compare that to because who does that? It's beyond unsportsmanlike, it's just plain gross. ESPN called it gag-inducing, which might be the most polite way possible to describe what happened. Then there's the 2018 Valero Texas Open incident. Sergio throws his driver down a barranca, that's basically a thorny hillside, and then has to climb down to get it back. I bet he wasn't happy to do this awkward walk of shame to retrieve his stuff. Now, 2017 was a particularly spicy year for Sergio's tantrums. At the Dell Technologies Championship, he bent his putter on a sprinkler head so badly he had to putt with his driver for the rest of the round. Then at the Open Championship, he actually got into a fight with a gorse bush, and the bush won. He hurt his shoulder so badly he needed medical attention. The crazy thing is, this is the same Sergio Garcia who won the Masters. He's one of the most talented golfers of his generation, but his tantrums speak for themselves. Oh, and before you go, we have another great video waiting for you right in the middle of the screen. Enjoy.